Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever the hell you're listening to this. You're listening to Fat on the Fleck Nerds Talking Sports, a sports pod with Dad Boz is your host, JackKnife, alongside Big Red, who we haven't seen in a while. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing quite well lately, despite the fractured finger. Things keeping me busy. My off season is non-existent. It's what I wanted, but yeah, no. It's been good. Busy, but very good.
That's good. Do you want to tell us how the hell you fractured your finger, or?
I wish I had a better story than I fell down the stairs of the MTA, but I fell down the stairs of the MTA. Didn't even make it to the venue, so I don't have an excuse on any extenuating factors on the injury itself. But no, it was still a great night, and Junibits was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. I'm literally a week ago out now, or tomorrow.
Gotcha. I mean, doesn't stop you from doing all your Red Bull stuff. You're still kicking ass over there.
I didn't fracture my voice. No, yeah, that would have been way more traumatic and horrible and bad. And I to be fair, I broke my fall with it, and it could have been my wrist, it could have been my arm, it could have been whatever. And at least it's just the finger. I'm going to see my orthopedist next week, so fingers crossed. Hey.
Yep, I got you. And I'm on vacation right now, hence why there's really no decorations behind me, in the fiance's family's condo. It's about like midnight on Thursdays, and we're kind of packing it in right now, so it's like, all right, we haven't talked in a while. It's like, all right, let's get something in, because there's a lot of shit going on right now. I mean, I'd love to talk about baseball. I mean, the Yankees are great record, but can't beat the freaking Reds in a series.
Love to
talk about how love to talk about how Zach Wilson's got that dog in him, apparently. But
like our QB, that's our QB.
He sure is our QB. But I think the thing I mostly want to talk about is obviously hockey, considering it's it's a day after we're almost 2 full days into free agency, so we'll get into that. Oh, the draft also happened, but before we get into that, I do want to take note of something I forgot to mention in the last episode. I feel like an idiot for. The Hockey Hall of Fame announced the Hall of Fame class for this year. It's like two-thirds of the freaking new members are Vancouver Canucks from that 2011 team that came up short against the Bruins.
Yeah, well, the infamous 2011 team didn't lose a single game at home the regular season. And then, of course, they lost the most important game at home in that season.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to have lost some home games during the regular season.
Maybe. I remember that being, because I remember always talking about that with my buddy Dan, and that was always a point. He was like, dude, that team didn't lose a game. You know what? I'll look it up later, but you might be right. I'd have to check that. Either way, that team's winning percentage was ridiculous.
Yeah, but I can't picture someone going 41-0 at home. But yeah, Daniel Alfredson, Roberto Luongo, Danielle and Henrik Sedin are going in as players. So is Rika Salinen. I think that's a female Finnish hockey player, and Herb Carnegie in the builder category. All right, but all right, let's get into the draft. The Montreal Canadiens had the first overall pick, and I'm kind of stumped on this one. Matt, you know how to pronounce this guy's name?
Juraj Slavkovsky. It'd be Juraj Slavkovsky.
That's what I thought. And, he got a bit of the boo birds from the home crowd in Montreal. He didn't pay it no mind. He was just like, you know what, I'm gonna earn your guys' respect. And then next, the Devils selected Simon Nemec, I'm assuming that's how I pronounce it, and the Coyotes selected Logan Cooley. That leads to the big surprise of this draft. Center Shane Wright. Many people had him as the top prospect of this draft. He ended up falling fourth to the Seattle Kraken, and as he was on the stage, he appeared to stare down the Montreal Canadiens' desk.
Well, you know why he did that, right? Because the Canadians had reached out to him prior and literally told him, dude, we're going to draft you, like, first overall. Like, we will draft you.
Really?
And they did. Oh, yeah. He was pissed because it was basically an agreement in principle. Kind of like how everyone on free agency, except Lou does. It's like the Seinfeld episode. We're just talking. Anyway, yeah, that he was pissed, and he had every right to be. That's why he really dogged them down. But you know what? Good for Seattle. I love the pick. I don't know what happened for the first four teams, and I'm sure it was a shock to everyone else, but the Devils were unfazed. I forgot who picked third. Arizona was unfazed. The Coyotes were unfazed. Right. Seattle saw an opportunity, and you know what? Big ad for them. I think that right now is the biggest chip on his shoulder in that draft.
Yeah, and I could imagine, I saw the reaction that the Devils fans had at that watch party at the Stone Pony, and they were pissed they didn't take Shane Wright. I'm like, at the same time, I kind of get it on their point of view, from the Devils' point of view, because they already have two top centers in Nico Hischier and Jack
Palat
Hughes.
Now, so
yeah,
and they've got Andre Palat now. So
yeah, which is what I was going to get into later. Your guys, the Islanders, made a trade for big puck-moving defenseman in Alexander Romanov. I mean, the floor is yours on this one.
I mean, listen, today is July 14th. We're going to cross into July 15th, like in a couple minutes. Look, it's first I'm going to say the Romanov deal, objectively, it's very good. There is question from some in the fan base as to whether he was worth giving the first round pick, 13th overall. Listen, the Islanders have problems that are not going to be addressed by this year's or next year's draft picks. So go for it. I'm glad that Lou at that time was aggressive. He's a big body defenseman. This guy's like 6'4", 240 pounds, hits like a freight train, Johnny Boychuk style. Very good defensive option, good mobility, good speed, but very good heady awareness. And he's only 22. There's a ton of upside on that. He'll slot in nicely, but we'll get into the free agency later. It's just a lot of Isles fans are getting and there's a lot of frenetic pressures, a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of antsiness with the fan base right now. But that deal, Romanov, big get, great deal. Love it.
Absolutely. I mean, the Islanders had like kind of a fluky season because of the whole COVID outbreak with their team. I think they're 100% going to be back to contending next year. Yeah, the Rangers had no first round pick this year. Say that again.
That makes one of us. We'll get to that later, but yeah, no. The Rangers, I like the way the Rangers look. I think they'll be at least second in the division again this coming year. Easy.
Probably. I mean, they had no first-round pick this year. Thank you, Winnipeg, for taking that pick. Well, that was all conditional because we made it to the conference final. They picked Adam Sikora in the second round, by Bryce McConnell-Barker in the third. Most of their damage, or most of the things they did was during free agency. But the Chicago Blackhawks are basically in full rebuild mode right now. They're basically doing the opposite of what you want to do in a rebound, which is trading your young talent and keeping the old. So, Alex DeBrincat was traded to the Ottawa Senators. Kirby Dach was traded to the Montreal Canadiens. And Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane are still on the roster. From what I heard, Kane is asking for a trade, but he's going to stick with the Blackhawks for now. Will likely get dealt mid-season. Yeah. And, that franchise has fallen from grace completely.
I think I speak for a lot of hockey fans and a lot of just people when I say it, in light of the, let's not name his name, but in light of what happened with the story coming out of the 2010 team, well deserved for that organization. So I think that hockey fans are looking at the Blackhawks and kind of just pointing and laughing at this point, and rightfully so. Look, it's kind of hysterical. Like you said, they're rebuilding backwards. They're discarding of under 25 young talent, and they're looking at these older veterans. It's almost, as an Islander fan with our wonderful Lou Lamoriello, I watched a full season of 45-year-old Zdeno Chara last year, and I sincerely hope, if he hasn't decided to hang him up, he should go to Chicago, because I think they deserve that.
I mean, I saw some I saw Patrick Kane's name linked to the Rangers, and not even the whole like 2010 team stuff that kind of that turns me off from getting him. It's like there's no way they could be able to afford him. Yeah, he's a
Well,
great talent, but yeah, he doesn't. I wrote this on Twitter. The Rangers getting Kane would give me Giancarlo Stanton to the Yankees vibes. Like, would he help improve the team? Sure, but there's still got some glaring holes that need to be filled that's not going to solve. But yeah, Chicago going completely downhill. Quite the fall from grace.
yeah, it's good to mention, but for the Rangers, I mean, listen, the only threats to the Rangers next year really are just as if Shesterkin gets hurt. I truly believe that could be a concern because of how the 5-on-5 play isn't very consistent. Yaroslav Halak, I love the guy, I really do. You'll know I'm one of my favorite goalies of all time, just personal. But he's 37. If Shesterkin's out for more than a month, 6 to like 8 weeks, him and Louis Domingue, Yara and Louis Domingue holding the fort, that would be the only threat I could really see. Because other than that, yeah, easy playoff team. Patrick Kane would elevate them, I think, personally, to pretty much Eastern Titans. But no, for you guys, it's looking good. It's looking good, but.
Well, they got some help on the 5-on-5 part of their game, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But first, let's finally get into free agency. The big fish this year was Johnny Gaudreau, and he ended up leaving the Calgary Flames for, of all teams, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Literally the most random team possible. Now, he informed Calgary the night before he was leaving, and his agent put out a statement saying that Calgary did everything they could, but this was about family. Like, paraphrasing there. And the New Jersey Devils were the presumed favorite, considering Johnny Hockey is from New Jersey, and especially because before free agency officially began, they made a trade with the Boston Bruins, trading Pavel Zacha to make cap room for Johnny Gaudreau. Another possibility was the Philadelphia Flyers. He's from Sewell. Is it Sewell? I don't know.
Sewell, South Jersey. Yeah,
South Jersey. But unfortunately, Philly couldn't make. Unfortunately for the Flyers, they couldn't make cap room for him.
Fortunately, right?
Yeah, and Flyer fans want Chuck Fletcher dead right now. And the Islanders were considered a smokescreen candidate by, I think, Elliot Freeman or one of those talking heads.
Well, the Blue Jackets were it was the Devils as the front runners, the Islanders as the team trying to basically outbid the Devils, and the Blue Jackets just came in the penultimate hour and just said, "Hey, you ever been to Columbus? You ever heard that cannon?" And I guess that worked.
He said in an interview like that cannon scared him at times, but yeah, I thought of those three teams, the most appealing were the Islanders because they had so much upside. And if you have Barzal and Gaudreau as your top centers, forget about it. I've said to you, like, if you guys had Gaudreau, there was no stopping you.
100%. If Johnny Gaudreau signed with the New York Islanders, I obviously I'm a fan, but I mean most people can agree they're only 1 year removed from that back-to-back conference final run. I mean, albeit there's a few pieces that fell short, they were still they were number 7 in the league for goals against last year, and Zdeno Chara was playing 18 minutes a night, and that was with the COVID injuries, the inconsistent roster lineups, the non-gelling of the players. They were still a top 7 defensive team, so that structure was intact. You add Johnny Gaudreau to that lineup, forget about it. I mean, put the money down right now on it. But old man Lou, back asleep at the wheel again for the third offseason in a row. Missed out on Artemi Panarin, missed out on any potential upgrade last year.
I mean, he offered Panarin a better contract than the Rangers did. He just wanted to be a Ranger.
Panarin leveraged the Islanders to get more money from the Rangers, and at the end of the day, it's very frustrating to see because it's always the bridesmaid and never the bride. But here's the thing, Jack, and I don't want to harp too much on the Islanders because there's a lot more to talk about than just the Islanders, but obviously the resident Island expert. They're the brand new arena, UBS Arena, state-of-the-art $1 billion facility, state-of-the-art practice facility, contending team a year removed from 2 back-to-back conference finals appearances. And not to mention, good shot for a cup now. I mean, the next 7 years doesn't look great. That's pretty obvious. The pipeline's pretty dry, and a lot of the core is 30 plus. There's it's kind of awkward because you got Sorokin, Pelech, Pulak is my age, our age, 27.
That's
You
scary.
got guys who are young. It's freaking. I thought about the other day how our quote unquote draft class was 11 years ago, 2013. We're coming up on I'm sorry, 9 years ago. We're coming up on 10.
Oh God.
Anyway, it's awkward with the Island, but the win now. Lou he had everything. We have the ownership willing to spend, the state of the art facilities. So still, they didn't want to come to Long Island, and I mean, and that's an indictment on Lou. At the end of the day, this looked like a slam dunk for the Islanders. It's not done. They're officially the only team in the first 48, 72 hours of free agency. Well, as of right now, 48 anyway. They have not made a signing. Not one. Nothing.
Not even an
Zero.
extension.
No AHL contracts, no depth signings, no extension, nothing. Nothing. Old man Lou is still asleep. His caretaker forgot to wake him.
I mean, I guess you've had it with Lou.
I'm just very upset. Lou's done a lot. He's won back-to-back GM of the years, but he hasn't made a good trade since Pajot. Signing Chara to signing Zdeno Chara at 45 years old was definitely a choice. I own a Chara jersey. I own a Chara jersey. I was for the meme for the first 9 games, and then I said I'm done because he was being utilized in a way that was 18 minutes plus a night and not 8 minutes a night minus. So that was my big beef. Did that have more to do with Trotz than Lou? Possibly. Did that have more to do with the fact that Lou dealt away Devon Taves for 2 second-round picks?
Ugh.
That's got to go down as the worst trade of his career. He's made a couple of interesting ones, but that's got to go down as the worst.
Well, you blame Urinating Tree. He made a video praising you guys.
Wait, when? Well, yes, this was last year. Very different times.
Yes. But he picked the Blue Jackets, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's nowhere near where he grew up. I thought this was about family. Well, we kind of got a little insider information here. Talking to my good friend, our good friend, DJ Sabedo, a former William Patterson center, who
That's right.
might have an explanation for this. DJ is played hockey with currently a player on the Blue Jackets from Belmar, New Jersey. Not Belmar like up the Jersey Shore. Belmar, South Jersey. Belmar with a W. Player player of the name of Eric Robinson. That just goes to show how good DJ is. It was a pleasure getting to watch him play hockey when we went there. And this is what he said to me. Quote, he and the Gaudreau family are like family holidays together and everything. They played high school together. I'm not saying it's 100% why he went there, but this would be the equivalent of wanting to play with his brother. So, in a way, maybe it did come down to a different type of family. So, yeah.
No, and listen, I respect the decision. This isn't Johnny Hockey's fault. I mean, listen, you want to exile yourself to the freaking center of Ohio? Do it, by all means. You enjoy your 6 playoff games if you even get there next spring. My big problem is that Lou Lamoriello, the Islanders are out of excuses. This should have been a slam dunk. I mean, the Devils are an interesting sell because the Devils are selling you tomorrow. The Islanders are a better sell, in my opinion, because they're selling you, hey, today, right now.
Hence why I was like, oh, please, God, don't go to the Islanders. Like, I'd rather you go to Philly at that point. Fucking.
Yeah, no, even the Flyers would have been a knock. I mean, but Columbus, I kind of saw, I literally, Jack, I spent all of day of free agency in an ice rink doing our Hitmen training camp, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. I refreshed Twitter all day. I was on top of all the free agency. I was, and I promised I wouldn't do it to myself again. I did it to myself again. Even after enduring the Panarin sweepstakes, I did it to myself again. I only have myself to blame. But that being said, there was radio silence almost all day. And I think a little bit of this is on Tom Fitzgerald, too. I mean, everyone who was in on him, there was only going to be one winner.
Yeah.
But like I said, the Islanders are out of excuses. This is kind of ridiculous. And if the team goes into next season the same as it is right now, I mean, I canceled my season. I was only a 1-year season ticket holder. I still canceled my season ticket. And I know that over 2,500 other people did as well. I think more probably. I mean, if it weren't the 50th season next year, I'm sure more probably would have, just because of the nature of the team that has changed so much in 1 year. You get rid of Barry Trotz out of the blue, which
I don't
if all
understand
of
that. I still don't understand that signing
real quick,
or
I don't want to
firing
get too
rather.
far into the tangent, but real quick, he only had 1 year left on his deal. He was contemplating retirement at the end of it anyway. Lane Lambert was basically next head coach in the waiting. This basically expedites the process. And I don't know if Lou wanted a fall guy for last year. Barry said he was ready to come back and coach. This kind of hit everyone hard, randomly, basically. But Trotz will be fine. I think the Islanders will be fine. I think Lane Lambert is an excellent candidate for next head coach.
Yeah, you certainly don't hope he does. He's a guy who was in Lou's system. You certainly hope he doesn't end like the dude who replaced him in Washington.
Oh,
I don't even remember his name.
Oh, yeah, such a forgettable tenure. All I remember is that they got smacked around by the Islanders the following year in the first round in 5 games. What was your name? What was your name? It'll come back. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Todd Reardon. Todd Reardon.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. He's a Pittsburgh Penguins assistant coach now, which is probably a better role for him anyway. But yeah, man, it's just it's an indictment on the Islanders not landing free agents. It's an indictment on the Devils that listen, you only made the playoffs once in 10 years. What are you going to sell them on? To be fair, we went to Columbus. Anyway, yeah, it seems to have been a personal decision for him. Everyone's the biggest loser of the night.
Yeah, Blue Jackets are definitely a better team at the signing, but I still want to put them in the contender category. But now that Johnny Hockey's there, who knows? Possible free agents could look at that and be like, hey, I want to go play with this guy. But anyway, enough about Johnny Hockey. Now I'm going to go to my Rangers. They signed Vincent Trocheck to a 7-year deal with an average $5.6 million cap hit. Now, the no movement clause for the first 3 years, then goes down to 12-team for the 25-26 season, 10-team no movement clause for the 26-27 season, and 6 the final 2 years. Now, this is a huge upgrade over Strome. Strome had a lot of hustle. He exceeded expectations. He was a great locker room guy and was one of the better trades in recent history because they traded Ryan Spooner for him. Spooner did nothing after that. It was time to move on. Now, the cap hit.
Peter Chiarelli fleece. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the cap hit, I love. The years, yikes. But the modified no movement clause is after. It means they can shed it if he does go bad. Besides, maybe the years was the only way to get him to come down on the cap hit. But if Chris Drury can dump Nemeth the way he did yesterday, then I'm sure he could do something here too, if necessary. But still, let's talk about the good. I'm going to talk about the good here. This makes the Rangers much better. They did struggle a lot with 5-on-5, and Trocheck is better defensively. He's good on faceoffs, great with puck possession. Again, they got to improve that 5-on-5 play. And even if he's not putting up points, he's a guy who's going to forecheck for you really freaking hard. Okay, he had 3 fewer points than Strome this year, but now he will be playing alongside Artemi Panarin, which will take a huge load off of Zibanejad. And I could also see him playing well with Kreider and Leff, that could also
up and down, easily.
Because that could make the line of Zibanejad, Brett, Artemi Panarin, and Kakko possibilities. But the Rangers also lose Vetrano. He's going to Anaheim. Yeah. Andrew Kopp's going to Detroit. And like I said, Ryan Strome to the Ducks. And it's time now they're taking the gamble on the kids. Lafreniere, Kakko, and Kravtsov. Assuming Kravtsov's not going to get dealt anytime soon. Well, the team's no longer in rebuild mode. Can't keep adding time to the microwave. Time to let these kids grow and flourish. Also they signed Yaroslav Halak, as we mentioned earlier. I think signing Louis Domingue was kind of a troll job, but yeah, I think they'll still be a contending team again. Hopefully they can make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't know if they're necessarily Stanley Cup contenders just yet. They're almost there. I
would say the Louis Domingue ad is actually very smart. I love it a lot more than the Halak ad. That's coming from me. Because Louis Domingue gives a lot of reinforcement to the Hartford Wolfpack, which, listen, I don't know how much you follow the AHL. They haven't made the playoffs in a little bit. Hasn't been looking too good for y'all down there. It's going to give stability in that net just to kind of help bring up the next guy or even just mentor, the career AHL or whatever the case might be. Either way, I like that a lot more than the Halak signing. The Halak signing makes sense I just hope he's 37. He's always been injury prone since like mid 30s, early 30s. Fun fact: I watched Halak tear his groin in person at a game in Brooklyn in 2016. I saw that injury live. Did not look good. He never quite found the same footing since. But besides that, yeah, listen. The Frankie Vetrano will hurt because I remember you guys traded for that guy in early spring, and I texted my same buddy Dan, and I said, "Listen, this guy's a monster for you guys. Monster bottom 6 minute eater. He's sneaky good in terms of his sense and the way that he plays. One of the better defensive forwards, just like Andrew Kopp. But that's gonna hurt too. I don't think as much as Vetrano, but from what I understand, Vetrano was a big guy for you in that
Yeah, he
21
was,
run,
especially
22 run.
Yeah, especially because he was one of the few guys who would shoot first. So.
Yeah, big time. It always hurt. As an Islanders fan, we need snipers. We need shooters. No, there's no natural shooters other than Kyle Palmieri on this team. So
Luke could have signed him, but that's all I got.
If they sign anyone, I will take another drink.
All right, so yeah, let's get into some other free agency signings. Jack Campbell to the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, I guess that's a upgrade over Koskinen. Ilya Samsonov to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if I'm not mistaken, they also trade for Matt Murray?
Matt Murray. Yeah, that should be an interesting tandem in Toronto. In my opinion, nothing wrong with Peter Mrazek. I don't know why they got rid of Soup. I mean, Soup was a little inconsistent towards the end. I don't love him as a starting goaltender, but in the era of the 1 and 1A, Jack Campbell is much better. I don't know. He was a much more reliable option than, I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs are divvying back in the bargain bin and goal because there's realistically no other options. So Ilya Samsonov, the Washington reject, won with Vitek Vanacek in New Jersey as the other Washington reject in net. Both chips on both players' shoulders. It'll be better for him, but is he a starting goaltender? I feel like he probably would have shown that in Washington. We'll see. Ovechkin, from what I understand, was very hard on him to the point where Ovechkin literally screamed at Samsonov in the 21 playoffs after a really bad overtime goal against the Boston Bruins.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that now. But yeah, now the Washington Capitals have Darcy Kemper, who is now a Stanley Cup winning goaltender.
He's got to be one of the first goaltenders in recent history, too, to have won the Stanley Cup, and just the team that he won it with was like, nah, see ya. Hit the free agency line, bud.
Well,
that's got to be a first for a while. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's how good freaking Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar are. I wouldn't be surprised if they were back in it again next year. And now they got an even better goalie in Alexander Georgiev, who they got in trade with the Rangers. So
yes, they have a strong case to repeat as well. I think be pretty crazy if they did. I would love to see them repeat way more than the last repeat team that I refuse to acknowledge. $18.8 million over the 21 cap. Anyway, I like Samsonov for the Maple Leafs, but again, it won't matter. They'll lose again in the first round, probably to Ottawa this time with how good they've been looking. So,
yeah, I mean, might as well get into it. Claude Giroux went to the Ottawa Senators. Now the Ottawa Senators have Alex DeBrincat, along with freaking Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux, and they got other great young talent as it is, and they might be a team to look out for this year. I mean, would I say they're elite? No, but that's because they're young. They got to learn to flourish. But they could be a playoff team next year, and don't sleep on them. They could definitely steal one.
In my ridiculously early play, they're our team that when they signed Giroux, they acquired DeBrincat. Tkachuk is now the captain. It's crazy that Claude Giroux is going to look at this little snot kid, Brady. It's like, oh, you're my captain now. It's kind of hysterical. But no, listen, for the Ottawa Senators, if I'm a Boston Bruins fan, I'm sweating because Bergeron hasn't announced this decision. Pasternak's gone. If I'm a Boston Bruins fan, I'm sweating because the Ottawa Senators, all of a sudden, I think could very easily wind up in the playoffs this coming year. All the moves that Pierre Dorian has made, credit to Pierre Dorian, showing that he was not a puppet of the Eugene Melnyk regime. and he is very much a competent and smart general manager because in one offseason he completely changed his perception to NHL fans. And I think that cannot be understated, and I hope that the Senators do well enough next year that he's nominated for the GM of the Year.
Yeah. And some other free agent signings of getting Malkin signing an extension minutes till midnight with the Pittsburgh Penguins. It was all but certain he was hitting free agency, but nope, that core of Crosby, Letang, and Malkin still going. Also, Philip Forsberg, reached an extension with the Nashville Predators.
He looked gone. He saluted the crowd in Game 4 personally after they got swept. He was gone. I don't know what happened there either. That's a big. I think the Forsberg re-signing is an underrated surprise.
Hey, Philip, we got these photos of you at this little naughty place.
That's what I heard you. Went downtown on Broadway after the Game 4 loss.
That'd be fucked up.
Got a couple of pictures and videos of some things.
But yeah, also the team that you will not name, but I will, the Tampa Bay Lightning, have re-signed Anthony Cirelli, and also Jacob Chernak and Miguel Sergachev. They somehow have cap room for that, but not all the cap room because they lost Andre Palat to the New Jersey Devils. Now, and also the Chicago Blackhawks, despite being a complete shit show, have added names like Max Domi and Andreas Athanasiou. Not bad. I don't think those are bad signings, but the direction the team is heading.
Again, when you give away Alex DeBrincat and Dylan Strome,
yeah, they're definitely not upgrades over there. No. They extended Dylan Strome actually.
No, Washington. Dylan Strome went to Washington 1 year.
Oh, he did?
3.5 mil. Yeah. No. Dylan Strome is gone. He went to Washington today.
Let's see. Oh, you're right.
Crazy, right?
Even Wikipedia has
crazy.
it. Wow.
Crazy. No, crazy. That's what I'm saying. It's Chicago. Those were like two signings where Max Domi and Andreas Athanasiou were like, well, nobody else called, so guess we're going to go play 82 games in Chicago.
Yep, absolutely. Now, Detroit Red Wings have added Ben Sherratt, Dave Perron. I mean, they've been low-key improving. I mean, you say keep an eye on the Senators. I'm saying keep an eye on the Red Wings.
I agree.
Yeah, Steve Yzerman doesn't have any Stanley Cup rings with the Lightning, but he basically laid out the blueprints for that team. His fingerprints are all over it. He's Yzerman with Yzer plan.
Let's be honest, Julian Breesbra is the guy who shows up to the group project, does 10% of the work, and takes all the credit. That's exactly what happened to Steve Yzerman there. That's his team. That's his DNA. He kept Stamkos in 2016. Kuchera, he deserves all the credit for those rings.
Absolutely.
Stevie Y. And I'm with you on Detroit. I think Detroit's probably still a year away, but if not this year, definitely next year for them. Yes, the Red Wings and the Senators are very much in the same camp of, well, the Senators, like I said, I think this year with Giroux, but yeah, they're very much the similar situations.
Yep, and finally, some guys who are notable free agents. Nazem Kadri is surprisingly still a free agent, but from last we heard, he wants to stay in Colorado. I guess they're trying to make something work out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if he really wanted to, he could get paid. Now, PK Subban is still available. Shocker.
Sluban.
Yep, Sluban. And don't forget, Jaromir Jagr put himself on the market. 50 years old, he owns a freaking Czech hockey team, and he put that out there.
If Lou Lamoriello were on Twitter, he would reach out to Jagr and sign him to a 5-year deal. I'm telling you, because that completely fits his mold. Ex-Devil, over 40, has, he won rings in the 90s, fits all the bills.
Yep, and I think the final topic we get to tonight is, one biggest trade I could think of off the top of my head. Brent Burns and Max Pacioretty are heading to the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't remember what the Sharks traded to. I don't remember what Carolina sent the Sharks for Brent Burns, but I think the Golden Knights sent Max Pacioretty to the Hurricanes for future considerations, and now the Golden Knights are officially a shit show.
Let's put it this way with Brent Burns. You don't know what went back to the San Jose Sharks because it's not worth. I mean, respect to the AHL. I would never played a game of AHL hockey in my life. It's just not worth bringing up in an NHL context. That's why you don't know what the return was. So the Sharks basically did the same thing the Knights did, although the Knights just did it outright because it's hilarious how much of a dumpster fire that organization has become since they canned George McPhee, who, by the way, George McPhee, if you're available, please go back to Long Island. We took care of you in 2016-17 when you were between jobs and before you got hired for the Knights GM position. We need help. Lou, we need help. Lou, become the president, go upstairs to floor 60 and let George make some hockey decisions. Just my opinion. That's ultimately, the Knights are so bad now, it's hilarious. They cursed themselves with Jack Eichel out of a playoff spot through big voodoo. They completely, upon Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury, both in different periods of time. They fired Gerard Gallant and replaced him with Pete DeBoer. That in itself is deserving of the fate that they ultimately received. And they finally missed the playoffs for the first time in their history, and I hope they miss the playoffs for a number of years to come.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they traded Nick Suzuki to... I think they traded Tomas Tatar for Nick Suzuki, then Nick Suzuki for Max Pacioretty. Now they traded Max Pacioretty for nothing.
For nothing.
If I'm not mistaken, that's how the trade tree went. But yeah, I think we basically covered it all. We've been recording for like a little over a half hour. I mean, like I said, I'm on vacation. I'm not trying to do this for too long. But anything else you want to add, Matt?
It's been a wild year for NHL free agency. A lot of teams in the Metro have improved. The Hurricanes are interesting because I still see them as division front runners, if not the Rangers. But it's been an interesting year for the Atlantic. I think the Atlantic got rocked the hardest, and respect to the Pacific, but the Pacific, again, will probably be one of the weaker divisions. I anticipate the Anaheim Ducks to make a good push for a playoff spot if they can figure out what's going on with John Gibson and in goal. I anticipate, again, the Ottawa Senators to make a push and probably crack a wild card spot. And I don't think, listen, I'll tie it back to my Islanders and put a bow on it. Do something. We need at least 2 top 6 proven scoring wingers. We've needed that for a while. Barry Trotz, you could look it up and it's quoted somewhere. Barry Trotz in his first offseason was quoted as saying, we need a little more pop up front. That never happened. It's been 3-4 years. Barry Trotz is, bless that man and his big, beautiful bald head. He's retreated back to Manitoba to be with family. I understand that there were some extenuating factors he needed to get back to. Take your time, Barry. We miss you. We love you. The Island will always love you. Lou, do something. I hope that his caretaker wakes him up from this 48-hour nap he's been taking since Tuesday night. It should be a fun year for hockey. There's still teams. Tampa Bay Lightning, by the way. Oh, I said I wouldn't say their name. I just did. Too late. I can't take that back. But I'm going to say their name because guess what? Tampa Bay, they're like $8 million over the cap as of right now, which you can be until I think the first week of training camp. Not sure. But they Kucherov back to LTIR. We'll see him again next April.
Yeah, that's usually how it happens. But if you made it this far, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube at Fat Unathletic Nerds Talking Sports. Be sure to also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FUNTS Podcast and on Facebook at Fat Unathletic Nerds Talking Sports. This is JackKnife alongside Big Red. Have a wonderful night, everyone.